Ready to learn the basics of Photoshop? To open Photoshop on the computer, go to Start. The list here does not have the version I need, so I type the name of the program Photoshop and from the new list click on Adobe Photoshop CS3. The Photoshop interface opens up. It's a large gray area with the main menu bar on the top, the Tools panel on the left, and various other palettes or dialog boxes on the right. The Tools palette on the left has all of Photoshop's tools. Some of these icons here have more related tools hidden behind them. We will, of course, learn all about these tools, but in a later module. This on the top is Photoshop's main menu bar. These will be used often. With the File option, you can open, close, save and print files. The Edit option lets you cut, copy and paste the images, Image option commands, working on the image size and so on. See these other panels on the right of the interface? This is the Colors panel. It shows us which color mode is being used. Here we are using the RGB mode. This needs a little explaining. Digital images can be created in different modes depending on which medium they will be finally seen in. The mode here is RGB, where R stands for red, G for green, and B for blue. This mode is used when the image will be viewed in a digital medium like TV or computer monitors. So, if I am creating an image for this medium, the color mode will be RGB. But if the image is created for print, then use the CMYK mode, where C stands for cyan, M for magenta, Y for yellow and K for black. There is the grayscale mode if you want the images in shades of black and white. The lab mode displays every color perceived by the human eye. They are device independent and the color remains consistent on monitors, printers and scanners. Coming back to our RGB mode, creating a color of your choice is easy. Just move the slider. Did you see the range? It can create what you can imagine. The color created appears in this upper square. In Photoshop, two terms will be used very often: foreground and background. Whatever is drawn will take the foreground color and the area erased takes background color. As you can see, this upper square says foreground color. So, if we draw with the present options, the shape will have a green outline. The other square says it's the background color. But to set the background color, you must switch it to the front. For that, go to the toolbox. Here too, the foreground is green and background white. Now, clicking this option switches the place of the two colors. White becomes foreground and green becomes background. If you want the outlines in black or white, choose these little squares. Now the shape you draw will have a black outline or white. If we go back to the color panel, the foreground background squares are now black and white. Let's press the next tab in this palette, Swatches. This shows a range of preset colors. But if this isn't enough, create a new color and save it here as a new swatch. This tab opens up interesting options. preset styles for a layer. These can be directly applied to a layer. But what is a layer? This needs some explaining. Imagine a painting of a flower on a stem with leaves. Let's say the flower was made in parts. The flower petals, the stem, and the leaves are painted on transparent sheets like glass. If they are placed one on top of each other, a flower is seen. If we work on the flower, the stems are not affected because they are on separate sheets. Layers in Photoshop are like these transparent sheets, and layers are the most important part of Photoshop. Let's open an image and see how layers behave. What a colorful image, isn't it? Let's see what happened to the layers. We have a layer named background layer. Remember, the first layer in any Photoshop file is by default named the background layer. It's important to make a copy of the background layer before working on the image, so your original image will remain unchanged. Let's do it. Right-click on the layer you want copied, select Duplicate. A dialog box opens which names the layer Background Copy by default. Another name could be typed there, but for now, I am happy with this. From the tabs to the bottom of this panel, a new blank layer can be created and is named Layer 1 by default. Is it really blank? Let's find out. See this eyeball icon on the layers? It shows that the layer is visible. When the eyeball is not there, that layer can't be seen, though the layers below it can be seen, like this. Remember, we had called layers transparent sheets. Okay, let's see if we can change their transparency. Select this layer. Watch what happens as I move the opacity slider for this layer. The other background layer is not visible, and this was the only image. So, Layer 1 is really blank, right? By now you understand layers. When I press the next tab, Channels, it says RGB on the first layer. You remember the image mode was RGB. The next three layers are the three channels, one for each of the colors red, green and blue. The first layer is composite layer, meaning it contains all three colors. If you keep only one channel visible, the image will appear grayscale. Watch what happens when two layers are visible. In this image, there are no parts, so let's deal with this later. Did you notice this panel at the top is showing the same image as in the workspace? You did. And the first tab here says Navigator. Watch what can be done with this slider. Zoom in, zoom out. And if I move this square, I can pan to any part of the image like this. The next tab is Info and gives detailed information of the file. You probably know that a digital image is made up of tiny squares called pixels. This tab tells us the color of each pixel in the chosen color mode. In this case, it's RGB. The XY gives the exact position of the cursor. Watch how it changes as the cursor moves. That was certainly a load of information, but really interesting and valuable information, isn't it? So it's time to save the file. Now Photoshop file is saved as a PSD file which keeps all the layers intact. This allows layers to be worked upon when needed. The image can be saved as a JPEG or TIFF file too for printing, but as JPEG and TIFF, it will be without layers. If the image is for the web, then it can be saved as a PNG file. Save the image as needed. With all this learning, go ahead and explore Photoshop.